So the idea of this is not a scientific talk, as you see. It's more of a presentation of our action. So what is this action that brought us all here? How does it work? What can you get from it? So let me just give you some of this information. First of all, what is COST? COST is a European network, a European institution that wants to promote among its member countries scientific cooperation and collaboration. And you see that even if it is based around the European Union, it is actually much wider than that. So you can see that there are several countries that are in either purple or green. These are all COST member countries. There are 41 of them. And then there is one, Israel, in orange, which is a cooperating member and a slightly different status. In practice, the big distinction is between the countries in purple and the one in green, because COST finds it particularly important to promote science in the countries that are marked in green, which are called inclusiveness target countries, that according to some metrics have a little bit more to gain from being included into international and transsectorial activities. So our action, theory challenges or fundamental challenges in theoretical physics, is based on the idea that there are many cases in the theoretical physics and there are many cases in physics in general where we cannot just use approximations. We want to have a little bit of more of a handle, techniques that allow us to make more precise statements that don't rely on numerical simulation, and we need more insight, such as symmetries, such as consistency, so bootstrap principles, and some of the ideas that you have heard already in the talks today, dualities, of course. So that's what is the common theme, try to use these ideas in order to go a little bit further than we could otherwise. There is a document, which is the Memorandum of Understanding, that is uploaded to the website of the action, and you can look it up, and it has all the details of what we plan to do, how we want to set up the action, divided among different topics. But very broadly speaking, we have set it up in 3 main avenues that, of course, are not completely separate one from the other. One is gauge theories, the other is gravity and holography, and of course there is a clear connection, and the other is low-dimensional systems, because of course there is sometimes a bit more mileage working in low-dimensional systems that you can extract from a theory. So these working groups are where you, as a member of the action, manifest your interest in participating. So you say, I would like to join working group 1 and 2, perhaps, or maybe all of them, or maybe only one. These are the ones that sort of set up our scientific activity. They give the scientific line of our action. The way that the action is run, and this is how COST works, that might not be familiar to all of you, is that there is a management committee. The management committee is comprised by scientists who are appointed by their governments. This usually is typically through maybe your National Science Foundation or something like that. Usually it could be the Ministry of Education. For instance, in Italy, it's the Ministry of Education and Research that does this, but sometimes this is delegated from the government to some agency. And this committee is quite big because it comprises all the countries that are represented in the action, and it votes by country. Because it's very big and because it is a little bit tricky to have discussion at this very large level, there is a smaller committee that is in charge of the day-to-day running of the action, which is the core group. And I will say some words about it in just a moment. In principle, of course, it's the management committee that decides on everything. So the decision power rests really with the management committee, unless, of course, it delegates it. And, of course, there are many MC members here in the room today. So this is general. Let's come to our activities, what we can do with this action. So the activities that typically COST actions such as ours have are the organization of meetings, such as this meeting, or smaller workshops targeted to one particular topic, or maybe to one particular region. So for instance, a regional meeting in one part of Europe, or schools. On top of that, there are other instruments that are short-term scientific missions. This means the point-to-point travel of researchers that want to go from their institution to another institution for a certain period of time to do research. And finally, there are conference grants for researchers in these ITCs, the green countries from before, to attend conferences. So this is specific because of cost rules. Is specifically for researchers that are affiliated in ITC. In our case, we have set up a number of these events. The very first event for our action was Iberian Strings, and many of you know that this is a conference that has existed for a while. And of course, what we did here was to co-organize it. The conference was going to take place anyway, but we helped out by giving a little bit of support, which allowed to support more young participants and to make the conference even more inclusive. So this is one way in which we support meetings. Another meeting that was already set up was a school on topology in quantum field theory and quantum mechanics, which took place just in April in Maynooth with about 60 people attending. That was also an event that had been planned before. And then there are events that were not really supposed to take place, but we created ad hoc for the action. And the most important one is, of course, this general meeting, as well as smaller workshop this summer in southern Italy. And then there are some events where it sometimes happens that people that have in mind something contact us, and one of these events is a workshop on black holes and information theory, which is due to take place in September in Belgrade. So this last event was actually not part of our lineup, but it so happens that we had a little bit more money, and the organizer contacted us, so we are planning to propose to the management committee to add this event to our lineup. You see there that it says pending management committee approval, precisely because it's something that I think it's a good idea, and the core group thinks it's a good idea. We discuss it informally, but needs to be approved through some formal process. And I think that this is a bit representative of what one could expect in every given year. To give you an idea, our budget is around 120,000 euros per year, but sometimes we get a little bit of a top-up. This year we go up to 160, roughly speaking. And this allows to support more or less all these activities to a varying extent. Some activities, some meetings that are small get maybe 5,000, 8,000 euros. This general meeting is much more expensive than that. The short-term scientific missions are also something that our community really likes. We have really had a lot of requests for that. They are basically scientific trips of 1 to 4 weeks with a budget of up to 4,000 euros for researchers that want to go and collaborate with somebody else from a coast country to a coast country in the way that we have set it up. And our first call had a budget of 30,000 euros, which sounded like a lot at the time, but we actually got requests for 90,000. And in fact, we managed to fund more or less half of the people by reducing a little bit the amounts that we were giving out. So it was a very big success, and we plan to have another call this autumn as soon as we know the new budget for the new budget year. And the new instrument that was not part of our original plan, but comes because we have a little bit more money, is this possibility to support the young researchers from ITCs that want to go and present their research in a high-profile conference, such as, for instance, could be Eurostrings that will take place in Southampton in September, or some other meeting that is relevant to the community, and there's a lot of visibility for these researchers. This is also something new that has to be approved by the management committee, but is something that in principle can be done by cost actions and can be very useful. So what is all this to you? How does it affect you, or how can it affect you? Well, what you can do is certainly to attend events organized by the Action. Maybe you just attend them, maybe you also ask for financial support. Of course, financial support is limited, the funds are always limited, but we typically have a call for financial support to which people can apply. You can participate in call for grants, for instance, short-term scientific missions. These are all widely advertised through the mailing list of the Action. So you can get this type of support by being a member of the action and participating in the calls. But you can do more. You can say that you are planning to have a school, to have a meeting, to have a workshop, and you would like to turn it into a meeting of discussed action. That, of course, means something. It means that it's not just your meeting anymore. It means that the cost action gets involved scientifically in the planning of the meeting. In particular, we really care about not only having excellent science, but also being representative in terms of geographical diversity, age, and gender. So in the selection of speaker or in the awarding of funds, we keep an eye on all these things, and we try to make sure that the meeting fits scientifically with the themes of the action. Another thing that you can do is that you can join the core group. So sometimes there can be an opening, for instance, to participate in this body that leads the action, because we find that maybe we need somebody to help out with one particular task. And then we just make a public call for nominations or self-nominations, and you can submit, express your interest, or maybe nominate somebody else. This is something very informal. People that want to join the core group can propose, for instance, I would like to participate in the life of the action. I think I would be good at doing this thing because maybe you need somebody for this. I make a silly example. We don't have anybody that does social media, that posts on social media what we do, because it just so happens that with the people that are involved in the action maybe are not so active on this side or don't have that much time. So if somebody says, I would really love to do that, they can come to us, and then what we would do would be to discuss it if we think it's a good idea, and discuss it with the management committee, and then open a call for nominations, and then the person would have to be appointed by the management committee. You can, of course, also join the management committee, but that is a bit of a different process. You need to be nominated by the institution from your government that is responsible. Whether this is simple or not depends on the government. In some places, you just send an email and say, I would really like to do it. I talk to the people of the action, they think I'm a good fit, and they will do it. In other places, you have to send a CV, and it goes through some committees. Of course, most of the countries already have a representative on the management committee, but not all of them do. Some of them have only one and not two. So these are all ways in which you can join the action or participate in the action. In practice, there are some relevant people, and I will ask them to just stand up and come here so we can see them, the ones that are in the room at least. So for the scientific activities, there are leaders and co-leaders for the working groups. For gauge theories, we have Diego Rodriguez Gomez and Predrag Dominis Prester. For gravity endolography, we have Nick Tumbas and Martin Sederval, who is not here. Martin. And for low-dimensional system, we have Riccardo Borsato and Niels Karkville. So these are the people today, during the meeting, tomorrow, during the dinner. You can talk to them, you can discuss ideas, proposal, ask for clarifications, whether some particular scientific line would fit in the activities, so you can just talk to them. And then there are more colleagues that are in charge of specific aspects within the action. So I, as chair, sort of try to keep an eye on everything, but I don't really get involved on specific decisions. I try to let other people help out because there is a lot of work. Piotr Sulkowski is also a great help in this. He's the vice chair. He's not here today, but he will be here tomorrow. And then for specific tasks, and again, I would ask them to come here and show themselves. We have, for instance, Boris Piolin, who is the coordinator for grant awarding, so the whole process of awarding grants for instance, short-term scientific missions. Fiona Seibold, who is in charge of communication. Sibyl Driesen, who is our coordinator for sustainability. Nihal Buyutsi-Mekci for inclusiveness. For training and school, we have Saskia, who did a lot of work for the last school in Maynooth. And then I think Paolo Rossi is not, he made it. I didn't see you. Is our coordinator for cross-disciplinary activities, being a physicist by training, but a mathematician by day job, let's say. So these are other people that you can talk to, with whom you can discuss your ideas, specific things, how you think you can contribute to one particular area of their expertise. And finally, I wanted to point out that these networks, they are very good for the community in and of themselves, but they can also be used as an incubator for other networks, other ideas that don't necessarily need to involve all the people of the network, but people that may be within one working group or within one regional area, things like joint degrees programs or doctoral networks that can be also supported through funding instruments of, for instance, Marie Curie. And I think that some people from the Padova offices should be here, so if they are, I would ask also them to come. Alessandra and is it Ilaria that came? Yes. Please come here to the front. So they, of course, are employees of Padova University, so they are particularly involved into activities that involve our university. But if you have just curiosities and you want to know what are the possibilities, what are the calls, what can we do, you can just chat a little bit with them, and they will be able to give you some ideas, some information, at least at the basic level. And of course, if you want to set up something, then if the thing involves Padova, they will be very happy to help. If it doesn't, of course, there will be offices in your own university that can help in a similar way. But it's just to get these also started. So this is all the information that I wanted to give you. And I would really open the floor a little bit to questions, after which I will go back to the practicalities. But maybe if there are questions or curiosity, let's just hear some. Thank you.